I'm joined by Chris Thomas here on our Friday briefing. It's policy reform special, I suppose, because my plan is to talk about this lovely little document that's come out, and I'll hold it up to that one there. It's called the Isle of Man Social Attitude Survey 2017. You are the man for this. You love your figures. You do, don't you? This is right up your street. But it was your pushing for this to have it, was it not? I mean, you wanted an update. 'Cause it had been done twice before only?
Well,
right?
In 1991 and 2002 in the island, we had a quality of life survey, and I think that was helpful to politicians of that era. John Shimon came into me one day at the end of the last administration, and I did look through last year's questions, and now we've made this an annual survey, annual social attitude survey, nearly 80 pages of pictures.
Same questions, same sort of thing. So we'll get, because obviously the questions have changed over time. I mean, Jersey does one of these, don't they, every year? So this is the plan. Okay. So
and there are interesting differences over time, and there are also interesting differences between our stats and those in Jersey and those in the UK. And I think all of that sort of information, those comparisons will be helpful for me, for other politicians, but even more so for the general public, to understand what the issues are for them and for us as a society, and also make sure that their government is addressing those issues in the right way.
Okay, well my plan is we're going to drill down on different, we are in August, so we've got plenty of time, we can do that. But I want an overview. Obviously you must be disappointed that the level of people living here is slightly lower than the UK. I mean, you know, people's sort of happiness levels. Was that a surprise?
Yeah, we're top 40 in terms of the world, the World Happiness Index, and we are below the UK. Well, we now need to unpick that, and another factor in there is that 53% of people living in the Isle of Man don't believe that their government is making a positive impact on their lives. You
scored very lowly on that, didn't you? All the things. Yeah, Parliament was not seen as that's good and trustworthy, or whatever you want to call the wording. Exactly.
Okay, well that's a different indicator. 47% of people have trust in their government. That's up 15% from last year. Then it was only 40% had trust in their government. But the first figure I gave you was a slightly different one, which was about the people in the island who think that the government has a positive impact on their own personal lives. Right. And even only half the people in the Isle of Man think the government has a positive impact on their lives. We don't know what that was in the past. But what I'm saying is that provides a baseline for politicians to assess themselves. And one of the reasons why the public might think that is because I don't think as yet they've accepted that we have clear enough policies to deal with the issues that matter for them and their lives in the future, and that's my task, and I really want to work with my colleagues in coming years to make sure that the public understand that we've spotted the right issues that need to be tackled. We are in a difficult situation in many, many areas, and then to demonstrate to people that we have got the right policies and those policies are working, and if they're not working, telling them why they're not working and changing the policies. And I do hope that in 3 or 4 years' time, people will be able to look back and say, this government deserves our confidence, it's got our trust, because it has done the right thing from a difficult starting point.
I mean, is it communication, you know, getting the message out there? Is that some of the times the problem you feel that you're trying to do the right thing, but no one realises you are on the right way?
Well, the easiest thing in the world is to say it's a communication issue, and obviously communication can always be better. But no, I would say we have got some fundamental issues that we've got to tackle. The fact that the population went down between 2013 and 2016 says that although this island is naturally beautiful, as people told us, although it is safe, although it is a place that people are satisfied to live in, or even very satisfied to live in, that they would recommend to their friends to come and live in, and so on, people did have to leave. So we've got to do something about the imbalance between earnings and the cost of living, particularly in terms of off-island transport, because that was something that
comes up all the time. I mean, all 3 surveys, you know, getting here, the expense of living here, blah, blah, blah. But you assume that is going to come up constantly. Whatever happens, it's always going to be more expensive to live here, right? So
you are right. It has always been there. It was there in 1991. It was there in 2002. But in 1991, only about a quarter of people said that the cost of off-island transport was the most important negative in their lives. It's now gone up to half of people. So we've got an even worse problem than we've had. You're right, living on the island, one of the issues with living on an island is the cost of getting to the island, but particularly we've got a particular problem now which government's got to stand up, accept that problem and deal with it, and that's what we're trying to do in our negotiations with over the sea services arrangements, and perhaps eventually even in terms of freight and air.
Yeah, you do hear like your special offers. I think EasyJet's like £25 to London if you get it
Exactly.
in advance. So sometimes it seems quite cheap if you get the right deal. But
exactly, and I think I don't think always the issues are only ones of price. Sometimes the issues are ones of the timing and all of that. So we've got to be sophisticated in our policy responses. But the main thing is the social attitude survey. I think gives confidence to politicians that we do have issues that we've got to tackle, and the public will only respect us if we're conviction politicians that know what's important to them and doing the right things about what's important to them so that their lives will get better.
1,888 people responded. Is that the information that this is all worked out on? Are you happy with that level? Because I know some have to be weighted a bit more because you haven't got enough people in the right areas to break it down. Yeah,
I'm delighted that you looked at the methodology. It's completely statistically valid. People, I mean, there will be a sample bias because the sort of people who will have engaged inside the survey, has taken the half an hour or so of time it takes to complete a survey, are more likely to be the sort of people who will vote, for instance. So more people said they voted in that survey than actually voted in the general election. But that's fine, that's a bias, people, and what politicians need to do is they need to tackle the interests and be seen by people who filled in a survey that we're doing a good job, but also the people who've stopped voting, because we need to win them back to the idea of democracy and voting.
Am I right in thinking this one was 18 pluses, the last one was a 16 age group, which must you've taken 2 years out of it. Am I right in that?
I'll have to check with you on that. I'm not sure that's the case, but I don't think there's any statistical bias that arises from how we've sampled it.
Okay. Well, I want to drill down on this. It's great. This is available, by the way, online, and you can pick up a nice glossy version, right?
Yes, that's right.
Happy reading for the summer. But no, we've got time. If you're okay, we'll drill down into some more detail.
Okay. But one last thing to say is there's another huge document that's come out today online, which is the first quarter's performance report on the programme for government. So, you know, it's deliberate. That gov.im/performance. It'll be there. There'll be PDF documents to download, and that's about the indicators that we've set for ourselves for our government and how we're performing against our target. That document will get better and better, with more graphs and pictures in coming months, but it's there already available today. And government, a good government, will be dealing with all the information it has. The information is not that expensive to gather. It's incredibly rich and valuable to refine public policy to have that information, and that's what we're trying to do.
I was just checking when your new policy came out. I've kept a clock on this, so it's 205 days since you announced it, by the way. Are you happy with that timetable?
Well, it is ambitious. We've got 80 pieces of data in terms of our national indicators. We've got 6 primary indicators. One of the most disappointing things in the social attitude survey for me personally was that government is clearer in explaining what it's trying to do, but it's still not very clear in what it's explaining to do, and that's what I'm going to keep working on. This government has 6 macro indicators. It says it wants to be and is going to be a financially responsible government. It's going to make our growth inclusive. Our government is going to be caring, and I would hope that in coming months more people will come to understand how that fits in with our policy on prescriptions and our policy on means testing and the way that we're developing our tax policies, but most importantly how we're on their side in terms of balancing earnings and the cost of living in the Isle of Man.
How's your silos doing? And now we've gone on to that subject, I mean, you know, have you been breaking that down more?
I think we have, very much so. So the great thing from the last couple of days has been the presentation that we had from all of the directors, the Minister of Health and Care, the departmental members, who were quite obviously a team across a huge diverse range of health and care functions, who were working together to drive out efficiencies in that department, because we've got a huge amount of money that we've got to address, a huge expenditure in health and care. Prescriptions we've gone about it the right way. We've brought a consultation on prescription charges alongside lots of structural changes in the way that we deliver health and care. We brought it for a consultation, and I'm absolutely delighted, I've got to say, that the public has burst out in enthusiasm for the discussion. A lot of it's angry, but I hope that the discussion will be rich in the sense that it will make for better policy, and we'll know what really matters to people and how much they're prepared to pay for it.
Yeah, but I mean, who on a consultation is going to say, yes, let's pay for?
Exactly.
Surely you just know what you're going to get from that consultation. It'll be, don't put it on the pensioners, and don't put it on the people who can't afford it. And yet that's exactly how it reads to a lot of people, that the retirees will now not be getting
Yeah.
the stuff on the free.
So government's got to work better together. We've got to break down silos. Every pound that we get inside government, we've got to use wisely for the things that people want us to provide from public services. You're right, nobody wants to pay for anything if they can get it for free, but we've got to ask questions. There are richer pensioners and poorer pensioners. There are people who just struggle by in their jobs who are younger, and people who are richer in their jobs, and we are at least getting people to answer the questions for us about the relative amount that people should contribute to prescriptions and to all the other services offered in health and care from different from different generations and from different types of people.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing.
Okay, you're not taking a summer holiday. I trust you'll be with us for a bit. So we'll be talking with Mr. Thomas here more detail. And as I say, he loves his facts and figures. I don't know if I can keep up with them, but it's all available online or in this glossy book. Do feel free to pick one up.
Thank you very much, Phil.